As soon as this is over here in a few minutes, I'm going to go on a little walk.
So have you needed therapeutic walks so far, or what are your thoughts?
Have not needed therapeutic walks so far, no. I do think it's what got us through the year last year, though. There were some stressful times throughout the course of August 1 to January 1. Kept us somewhat sane, so it's been good. I grab a player every now and then, too. It's funny how these guys can go run like forever and ever and ever. They can't walk. I mean, they want to walk like a mile an hour. I'm like, come on now. I kind of consider this exercise. Let's go. But it's been good. So no, it really haven't. Everything's good. I mean, the attitude's good. The energy's good. The intensity was good yesterday. I mean, you know, uppers practice is way more physical, but there's no live situations. There's no tackling or any of that. So we got a pretty veteran group that knows how to practice, and you know, got through it pretty good with some good intensity, but got our work done, and everybody's in a good place. You know, they still got a little bit of school going on this week too, so you know, I think the end of the semester ends Friday, so they're still kind of working through some of that. But you know, we'll really crank it up Thursday, Friday, and then 2 or 3 times next week.
Every year you have a new team. Leadership has to develop. How does leadership grow among the players, and who? What makes a player a leader?
You know, being here for a long time and understanding how the program works, understanding, you know, how the just everything. I mean, you know, that the Mountaineer football that sings in the back, the last one's the Mountaineer mentality, understanding what it means to be a Mountaineer, understanding, you know, what it means to the state is important. It's tough for guys to get that after 1 year or 2 years. You know, we got a lot of transfers that in this program, as we well know. A lot of them are 3 for 3. A lot of them have been here 2 years. You know, every now and then we get one that's just here for a year, but we've always had a lot of fifth-year seniors. If you look back 2 years ago, you know, we had quite a bit of seniors that have been here for 4 and 5 years. Last year we had 15 to 18 guys, I think, that have been here for 5 years. You know, this year we got, I think, 35 guys in the 2 deep that are juniors and seniors. A lot of those guys are guys that have been here 4 and 5 years. The 2 guys that really come to mind, Al Benton on defense and Eli Wellman on offense. They've both been here 5 years. You know, that's what really makes a leader, is just guys that are vested in what we're doing and can relay that to a lot of the younger guys and get those guys to do the right things, what's expected of them within the program.
Is it fair to say that they can't make themselves leaders, though, that in reality the team makes them leaders? I mean,
no, I mean, it's there's all kinds of books written on this, Bob, you know, I mean, there's a lot of different things that, you know, that make leaders. Sometimes really good players are bad leaders. Sometimes really bad players are good leaders. You know, the 4 guys I took to media days, I consider all 4 of those guys leaders. That's why they went to media days. 2 are transfers, 2 are fifth-year seniors. You know, Justin Crawford and Kaiser White are both really, really fantastic players that are, it's important to them to you know, do well. It's important for them to win. You know, they lead by example, but they're not scared to open their mouth and say something as well. So I think those 4 guys are probably the main reason why they're at media days, is because they lead this team.
Are Eli and Benton ever going to get to swap during the game?
No, absolutely not.
Coach Gibson mentioned.
I know they want to, but that's all just like smack talk stuff, you know.
Coach Gibson mentioned the other day that this might be the most athletic defensive unit that he's seen in this program. How do you feel about this unit? How do you feel about how you've seen their progress thus far?
They're pretty athletic. There's the thing that I like about where they're at. We got good leadership. We got a lot of experience. they are athletic. We've had pretty athletic, guys in the past. It looks like the same defense. That's what's exciting about where we're at. How are we going to replace 8 starters on defense? Well, the same way we have the last 2 years with guys that have been in the program and guys that know what to do. Said this on numerous occasions. I think our recruiting is continuously getting better with the type of bodies that we're bringing in. And thankfully, we usually don't have to play those bodies when they first get here. They have time to develop, time to learn, and then they play when they're ready to play. So I just think that's where we're at, on defense. I think that's where we're at as a program. So excited about the way those guys look and how they're acting and how they're running around.
In terms of type of bodies, you look like you have more length now. Is that a specific recruiting aspect that you've looked for in recent years?
Absolutely. That's what, the recruiting aspect of things, if you have a guy with a certain skill set that's 5'8", or a guy with a specific skill set that's 6'2", you're always going to take the 6'2" guy. Now, if the skill set doesn't match up, then we've always been a program that doesn't mind taking the 5'8" guy if the skill set doesn't match up. But if the skill set's the same, everybody in the country is going to go with the 6'2" guy, or 6'8" guy as opposed 6'6" guy as opposed to a 6'3" guy. So, that's what I mean by I think recruiting has improved. The body types are a little different, and the skill set is the same.
Because you had more homegrown guys at Tech and Houston, and you bring in transfers here, do you have to devote more time to making guys feel at home? I mean, it's still a acclimation for any high school kid to go to college. I get that, but do you have to budget that more here?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we talk about it about twice a year. We go through the core values of the program. We go through, which is everything from what's expected of them to do to, what the traditions are, what the history of the state of West Virginia is. I mean, just every aspect of what these guys need to know. We as coaches explain it to them in the off season, and then like right now, we're explaining it to them right now. Every afternoon at 3:30, I have a coach get up and cover a little area of the program. Then I get a player up that's been here, that covers a little bit of what it means to them, as far as what the core values are, or traditions are, or any of that. So it's fun to watch that and see the kids get up. And, we don't randomly pick them. We get guys that have been here that get up and talk about what it means to them. And it's that way, and they're talking to 125 kids, and that are kids and coaches about what it means to them. So we have to make a conscious effort to make sure that everybody that sits in these seats understands it. Just part of what the program is.
With Will in his year off, how did you sort of try to groom him? And is he further along maybe than a lot of other quarterbacks because he did sit that year, not even taking into account that he played before, but his knowledge of your system?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, that's one advantage for a transfer quarterback. I see, Jack Allison's in that situation right now where he's kind of, itching to get out there and throw it around and play. And I'm like, just relax. You got some time here, soak it all in and learn it. For that position, it's, if we lined up Jack right now, if we would have lined up Will last year, there would have been a lot of growing pains. Where now Will understands everything. He understands the team. He understands the offense. He's in a good place. Now I look at a guy like T.J. Simmons and Giovanni Haskins. I'm like, I wish those guys could line up and play right now. But for the quarterback spot, the year off does him a lot of good.
Speaking of the offense, Coach Spavital said that it surprised him a little bit when you were willing to give up play calling to let him call plays this year. What led you to make that decision?
I've answered this question 100 times. Felt like the time was right. We've been improving with the program here each of the last 4 years, and How do we continue to improve? Well, I feel like it was just a good time to be able to turn some things over to him, to take some of that off my plate and do some other things within the program that I think will help us continue to get on, keep on that upward swing.
The dynamic of Joe coaching Kelby. Did you know Kelby much back at OSU?
He was a baseball player when I was there. I mean, he was rarely around the office. Every time I saw him, he was carrying his baseball bag. I don't even think he was playing football at the time. I know after I left and he went into high school, he started playing a little bit. But, yeah, he was pretty ate up with baseball. But Wick coaches him all the same. He's probably harder on Kelby than anybody. That's just his nature. I'd probably be harder on Logan than I would anybody else. And it's just football coaches are kind of like that. So Kelby's doing good. He's a smart kid, and he's still developing as a football player, just because he hadn't played really very much. That's why Wick sent him to junior college last year, just to play football, as opposed to have to sit out a year. He sent him there so he could play a year, and it was good for him. He'll keep getting better.
Was he a big kid during those baseball days?
No, I remembered, that would have been, that was 7-8 years ago. So he was a 14-year-old kid, 14-year-old pudgy little baseball kid. That's all I remember. I wasn't there very long.
Danny, you mentioned your son. Seems like he's getting some interest and attention now. You have kind of two unique roles there. What is your involvement as far as like what's allowed, and I don't know if there's any prohibition, but how is Dad and how is handling it?
I'm just a dad, He's over at St. Francis right now, learning how to go to school and learning some new teammates and stuff like that. But, it's been fun since January. I've took him to 7 or 8, 9 camps and hang out there with the moms and dads and sit there and talk to them about where they're from and all that. So fairly strategic on who they are. But it's been good watching him develop. I never pushed him into football. He didn't start playing until he was in 9th grade. I don't think football needs to be played until you're in 9th grade. That's my personal opinion with kids growing up. Number of different reasons. It's probably not the time and the place for that. But he started when he was in 9th grade, and, I thought he did okay and never pushed him into it, and he liked it and was around the office, and he's pretty motivated. So he's done well at camps. I guess some people like him, so that's good.
Some of your older guys have mentioned that they felt that the raw talent in specific areas may be better than at any time they've been here. Do you see that?
Yeah. That doesn't always equate into wins. I do think we have top-end talent, and I made reference to this when I was out there. Some of y'all caught it. Mike Joseph has he calculates numbers. Height, weight, speed, strength, quickness, just a lot of that stuff. Obviously Tavon Austin was tested elite. Bruce Irvin tested elite. Mark Glowinski tested elite. Kevin White tested elite. There's some guys that tested elite that couldn't play a lick. But we got way more in the program now than we ever have. Usually we're sitting at around 4 or 5. We're 2, 3, 4 times that right now. So, goes back to that recruiting thing, but, it's not always about the bodies. Coach Joseph puts it on the bodies. I'll put half of it on him. I think he trains them as good as anybody in the country. I think our setup right now is really good. Just the facility downstairs, the support with the administration as far as what we're putting into their bodies is really good. Hopefully it equates into wins.
Do you feel with what you've got all the answers you need for the things that are going to come up, particularly offensively?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I do. And, we gotta log the reps, and we gotta keep moving forward, and we gotta improve, and a lot of things that go into wins. You know, it's not just bodies or any of that. I mean, we gotta log the reps. We gotta continue to improve on, you know, offense, defense, all the areas and special teams. You know, we gotta stay healthy. We gotta ball's gotta bounce our way. A lot of things that gotta happen. But we're off to a good start.
All the guys that were injured last year, where are they now? Are you a little cautious with any of them?
Everybody's good. You know, I hate that injury question. I'll comment on guys that are hurt, that are really injured. I won't comment on guys that are hurt. I will comment on guys that are out. We're in good shape.
Any of those redshirt freshmen, I know you mentioned Ferns and Tonkery, are there any other guys that have really impressed you, just what they've done physically?
You just defensively?
Or offensively?
Meh.
I know it's one day in pads.
Ferns has looked good. I've been really impressed with Ferns. You know, I hate singling guys out after one day. Jake Long looks good to me. Dylan Tonkery looks good to me. I consider Petaway, you know, that same guy. I mean, he played in one game, unfortunately. There's been lots of talk about changing that rule to where it doesn't hurt a young man that has to play in one or two games. But he looks great, quick, patient. McCoy looks good. Really excited about him. Josh Sills has got a chance to be a really good player for us here. I'll stop there. I don't.
How about the Rice transfer?
Yeah, German. I know how to say his name now. He's good, smart. You know, he graduated from Rice. Rice is a pretty good academic institution. He's been basically repping for 3 days. You know, it's tough to judge a kid that has been repping for 3 days. You know, Reggie Roberson has done some good things, but he's been here since June 1. So he had a whole summer to understand. I mean, a guy like Nate has been here literally 3 days. But he's got a potential to be able to help us.
Inside there?
Huh?
Is he inside?
He's going to be inside. Yeah, he'll be inside.
With regard to that whole everybody looks good in shorts, and when or how do you allow first impressions or even just impressions in general resonate where you do start to form?
We'll talk about it Saturday. I say that because that gives you 2 shorts, 2 uppers, and 2 full. And then Saturday we'll give them a day off. That's a new NCAA rule, which doesn't matter if I agree with it or not. But there'll be no football activities at all for these guys on Saturday. You know, there'll be food available and treatments available and recovery. I mean, we'll have that, but no football, which means coaches are going to have a lot of time to, you know, sit and they got 6 days of video. You know, that'll be the first time we will actually start, you know, talking about a little bit of a depth chart. There is no depth chart right now. I know we put one out in the media guide, and it's going to be, at the end of the day, probably 75% right, but that's when we'll start evaluating guys, because that gives you 2 of every way you can practice, and the 2 full is the 2 that we can actually like line up and move the ball and tackle and all that good stuff. So that'll be the first day we kind of start saying, okay, I think that guy's got a chance to really help us, or that guy really doesn't.